Ooh, yes, it's definitely Scruffy Saturday, but we don't care. This is us on a Saturday morning. Welcome back to Coffee and Headlines. Yesterday was such a good day. I can't wait to tell you about it, but we'll wait a little bit um, until after the weather break. Happy Sabadaba to everyone. Happy Saturday. Today is Saturday, January 28th, and I'm thrilled to see you, as always, here at Coffee and Headlines, where we bring to the table headlines from our city, our state, and our country, and you bring to the table your questions, ideas, and suggestions on how to best connect with each other, with our destination, and some other places near Puerto Vallarta, all the way to Guadalajara. We have questions about Guadalajara today, which I'm always happy to answer because I'm a big Guadalajara junkie, as you know. But before we go there, the usual housekeeping. If you're new to the live broadcast, please let us know by writing the word new in your comment, as Albert has done here. Anyone know where you can get a full-size mattress topper here? This old body needs some comfort. I would go to Costco. See, it's that simple. Somebody puts a cue, asks a question, the question is answered, hopefully, and we've made a great connection. And I'm sure there's going to be other suggestions for you, Albert, and I hear you on needing some comfort. And that's what we have. Today we have news about billboards. We don't want billboards. We have news about controversial fishing in Nayarit. We have news about the international tourism event that took place in Madrid. We have a quick crash course on cabanuelas, what they are, what they were, what they mean. We answer a couple of questions about tipping. Tipping, how much do we tip musicians? Which is an important question. And I tell you about yesterday because there are some things that happened yesterday that you will want to know. Let's get started. To begin, many years ago and many municipal administrations ago, Puerto Vallarta was plagued with billboards. And I mean all kinds of billboards. Even the table dance places had billboards that were poorly written, by the way, and nasty. It was not pretty. Then an administration came and forbid them, and they were gone. But it's not uncommon that private companies will come and knock on the door of new administrations, trying to lure them into allowing billboards back in our city. And this seems to have happened recently. To that effect, Álvaro García Arce Monraz, who is president of Puerto Vallarta's Hotel and Motel Association, expressed disapproval representing the association at the possibility, reminding us that Puerto Vallarta has thrived without the visual contamination that they bring. In addition, billboards are not even allowed in our municipal laws, so the current administration would have to begin by modifying the current law for this to happen, and we hope that this will not be the case. Elsewhere in the city, we are happy to learn that Mayor Michel's administration continues to engage in improvements at different public parks throughout the city. This time around, it is in the area of Playa Grande that the latest upgrades were announced, and this includes streets that were in disrepair and a suspended bridge that was damaged when Hurricane Nora hit our coast in August of 2021. And if you're wondering where Playa Grande is located, it is not a beach, even though the name would suggest it is. It is a small community as far away from the beach as you can get. It's right along the Ameca River and against the mountains, and pretty much as far as you can get from Puerto Vallarta downtown area and still be part of the city. I've been there before. There's a canopy company out there. There's a couple of fun places, and it's great for bicycling and so forth. Moving right along, this week we told you about how Puerto Vallarta apparently did not send anyone to FITUR, the international tourism fair that just took place in Madrid. Meanwhile, Riviera Nayarit did make an appearance with over 130 important meetings taking place with Spanish investors, airlines, tour operators, and other tourism movers and shakers, and good for Riviera Nayarit. In other news, however, the state of Nayarit is in the eye of the storm due to the fact that in the past few days, a dead whale calf was found on the beach at La Peñita de Jaltemba, seemingly a victim of tuna fishing boats that were operating too close to the beach. And what makes matters worse, and the controversial issue here, is that these fishing vessels come from elsewhere. They come from Ensenada, Mazatlan, and other northern places in the country and operate illegally in Nayarit, spreading nets that span almost half a kilometer and catching everything they can, but tossing away anything that is not tuna. So if you're a whale or a shark, a dolphin or a turtle, and you get caught, you are screwed. And this is horrible. Can Nayarit authorities do something about this? Well, we certainly hope that they do. And that's the news for today. Let's take a quick look at the weather forecast just to see what we can expect. Let's see, 25 degrees, feels like 27. Humidity's a little higher than yesterday. It's 50%. Snarky weather says nothing important today. It just says beep, bop, it's partly cloudy. In our temperature in Fahrenheit, 78 degrees. Our weather forecast for today says mostly cloudy through the day with a high of 27 and a low of 20. Tomorrow, Sunday, partly cloudy through the day with a high of 30 and a low of 19. And we begin the week with a clear day, a high of 30 and a low of 18. Yay. So, as I mentioned earlier, yesterday was a day of wonderful connections, wonderful happenings, both personal and professional, throughout the day, between getting together with friends, going shopping, checking in on our dear friend Gina Hendricks of Whiskey Kitchen, who's back from the States from her father's funeral, and we were happy to bring her some good vibes. Gina, welcome back. I'm so happy that you're back. And my day had a crowning moment late yesterday. If I may indulge you with a personal story, I figured, I deserve some television time tonight. I said last night, and I sat in front of the TV on my reclining chair, and I treated myself to 2 episodes of the latest season of The Crown, which is absolutely wonderful. But the crowning moment, no pun intended, was when I was lying on my recliner seat, and Luna did something that she never does. She climbed on top of me on her own. She will do this on the bed all the time, but never on the recliner seat. And she literally spent an entire episode of The Crown resting on my tummy and purring. I mean, how can a day be better than that? I was just so happy. And of course, one of the great things that happened during the afternoon, even before I called it a day, is that I ran into Lucy, who is our dear friend that organizes the art shows that are done by Hecho, Mano. She was coming out of Ernesto's Good Grub right down the street, and we were so happy to learn that her rescheduled art show is going to take place at Ernesto's on February the 10th. Now, how could we not go to this? Ernesto's has great barbecue ribs, and Ernesto's has probably the best tortilla soup that you can find in the city. It is just amazing. So this is going to take place on February the 10th. It's a Friday. It'll happen during the afternoon from 3 to 9 p.m. So if you want to call it an unofficial meet and greet or coffee and headlines get together, trust me, I will be there eating and hopefully supporting this wonderful project that we talk about frequently, but we're not going to get tired of doing it because it empowers many local craftspeople and provides an outlet for them to make a decent living and provides us the opportunity to buy fun chingaderas. Yes, fun chingaderas is all about that. Now, it's almost the end of January, and we haven't discussed las cabanuelas this year. Las cabanuelas is the Mexican folk art of predicting the weather. You may find that in the past few days, we may have had a couple of light scattered showers, and people call them, yes, the cabanuelas. Well, cabanuelas is an ancient method to forecast the weather throughout a given year, and it was primarily used by farmers who would observe the weather during the first 12 days of January, and based on that, they could forecast what was to happen for the rest of the year. In Mexico, observing the cabanuelas comes from the Aztec, who adapted this knowledge from the Maya, as both their calendars used to consist of 18 months with 20 days per month. That's, of course, before the Spaniards came. So for them, the first 18 days of January were pivotal as they represented each of the next months, and the remaining 2 days of the first month were used as reference for predicting other weather phenomena. An example of this would be if it rained on January 10th, this would mean that it was likely to rain on month number 10. And based on this analysis, they would decide whether to plant their crops or engage in any type of farming activity at any particular time. Today, for most of us that are not involved in farming or use more current weather prediction methods, even when they're snarky, cabanuelas are simply the sporadic and random rain showers we sometimes get during the month of January, which is characteristically a non-raining month here in Puerto Vallarta. Moving right along, yesterday we talked about mariachis, and I got this amazing question later on in the afternoon from our friend Deborah. And she asked, what is the proper tip for mariachi players? And whenever we get interesting questions offline, I always choose to answer them online during the show, as the answer can be helpful to other people. And my answer to her was, that is great, but truly a broad question, because saying what is the proper tip for mariachi players would be like saying what is the proper tip for a fiddler or a singer or a dancer or an anything. But there are some things that I would like to invite you to keep into account, and you may have some interesting comments to that effect. If I am out and about anywhere throughout Mexico, because tipping might be different in other parts of the country, and I am, say, at a restaurant and so forth and so on, to find out how much to tip, the best practice I can suggest is ask the wait staff. Ask somebody that works at the restaurant, and they will give you a proper suggestion more often than not. You don't ask the musicians because they might exaggerate the tipping. Now, there's something else that is, and this applies to mariachi players or to guitarists or singers or movers and shakers and whatever. I always ask because the amounts vary from place to place. But here's an important ritual that you may want to keep in mind. A lot of times, traveling musicians, if you are at a restaurant or at the beach and so forth and so on, they will just approach you and say, do you want some music? And if you say yes, there is an implicit expectation expectation that not only A, you're going to tip, but also B, the musicians may have it in their mind that they play a song for a specific amount of money. And sometimes conveniently, they'll forget to convey that information ahead of time to you, such that if they play a song and you love it, and then you say play another, and then you say play another, that's three songs. So if in the mind of the musician they charge 100 pesos to play a song, you will owe them 300 pesos. And it gets awkward and it gets complicated and not pretty if all this negotiation is not done ahead of time. So, if at a restaurant or a bar or a place, the thing to do is to ask somebody from the staff. If you are approached directly by musicians, you can always say, can you guys hear that? There's a traveling van selling something and it's very, very loud. Anyhow, if you are out and about at the beach or a musician approaches you directly and offers to play some music, the first thing to do is, if you don't want it, is say, no gracias, no thank you. You might want to say, have a good day, que tengas un buen día. You may want to say good luck, buena suerte. And once you say good luck, buena suerte, you're essentially ending the conversation in the most polite way possible. If, on the other hand, you do want live music, what I would do is to ask how much is a song. ¿Cuánto cuesta la canción? And that way, the arrangement is completely clear. If you want the musicians to play, and you know how much you're expected to play, it's all taken care of, and you just pay that and maybe throw a little bit of a tip on top of that if you choose to do that. Now, if a musician starts playing a song, you're on the beach and they're standing behind you and they start playing a song and you didn't even make eye contact with them or they didn't even ask you, you do not owe them anything. That said, you may choose to be kind and give them some money anyway, but you are certainly in no obligation to do that. Okay, so we've taken care of this question, but before we go on to the next question, if anybody has had pleasant or unpleasant experiences with musicians out and about wanting to play, feel free to share those with us here in your comments. The second question that I got offline has to do with traveling to Guadalajara, and the timing couldn't be better because one of the things that I did yesterday is to secure my bus tickets for my next trip to Guadalajara, which is coming up in a couple of weeks. I'm going to hear classical music, and I couldn't be happier. So yesterday, the question was, hi, Paco, I'm going to Guadalajara around February 23rd to 27th to visit with my nephew who will be staying in Colonia Americana. I was wondering if there is a preferred bus line and if you have a favorite place to stay I should look into. My budget will be limited because my pensions have not started as expected. Grr. Well, dear Grr, I have some answers for you and some tips that you may want to keep in mind. First of all, regardless of the bus line that you choose, there are some less expensive ones and there are some more expensive ones, and I will talk about that in a second. But regardless, do keep in mind first and foremost that when you're going into Guadalajara, you are coming in through this highway over here, okay? And this area over here, this is the municipality of Zapopan in Guadalajara. Here's Guadalajara City. Now, the main bus terminal in Guadalajara is located all the way down here. So if you buy a ticket to Guadalajara, you will come into the city and then you will go on the Beltway and then you will eventually end up over here where the bus terminal is. But here's tip number one. I always get off. There is another terminal here in Zapopan. So you are not actually buying a bus ticket from Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara. You are buying a bus ticket from Puerto Vallarta to Zapopan. And you get off in the Zapopan terminal for a couple of reasons. Number one, you've been on the bus for 4.5 hours. You probably want to stretch your legs. From this point, you catch an Uber or a public bus to go to wherever you are going if you know the city. You can, of course, also catch an Uber from down here, but going all the way down here will add an extra hour to your trip depending on traffic. If it's rush hour, you can expect that you'll be on the bus longer than you have to, especially in your case, dear Gur, because you're going to Colonia Americana, and Colonia Americana is right around where this G is located. So if your son's going to be in Colonia Americana, you definitely want to get off the bus in Zapopan. So that would be my first tip to you. Now, which bus company to take? Oh my God, that traveling salesperson is driving me crazy. It's very distracting. And they're selling a pomade for tired eyes. Anyhow, moving right along with tips in Guadalajara. I hope you can hear me okay with all that noise. Some people take Vallarta Plus. Some people take ETN. Some people take Primera Plus. Vallarta Plus is the least expensive bus, but it is also the least comfortable bus. And you're going to be sitting on the seat for 4.5, 5 hours, and you may be sitting next to a person that you like or you dislike. But because more often than not, I travel by myself, I like the ETN bus for a couple of reasons. Number one, hold on just a second. Why can we not look at the... there we go. ETN buses are double deckers. They're extremely comfortable. And when you buy your tickets ahead of time, you can always get the top front seat. And there you have a panoramic view of the whole trip, and it is just beautiful. The way the seating is arranged in ETN buses has to do with aisles that have one seat on one side and two seats on the other. So if you're traveling alone, you book the single seat, and nobody's going to bother you. And they're extremely comfortable. They recline, and so forth and so on. Now, regardless of the bus line that you take, you can be eligible to a discount if you're a teacher or a student or a senior. Now, those discounts may not necessarily be easy to identify, so I'm going to show you a little tip. Here is a search that I did in the ETN website for a departure from Puerto Vallarta to Zapopan, and that should be a no-brainer to go into the website and do that. They have a Spanish and an English edition. But here is the trick, and I'm going to mention this only because you say you're waiting for your retirement money, so I assume you may be of a certain age. Oh, the pomade also clears headaches, stress, lack of sleep. I don't want to hear that. Anyhow, I get so distracted. My apologies. Here's the thing to look for. The bus companies designate a certain number of seats that are available on each ride for seniors, for teachers, or for students. So what are you looking for? If you look at this first one, we see that there are 29 seats available, and then there's this gibberish here. And what this gibberish is about, the first one says 3, the number 3, and then it says INSEN. INSEN starts for the National Institute of Senectud or Seniors. So this means that this particular bus ride has 3 senior seats available, and ETN sells their senior seats at 50% the price. They have 0 seats left for teachers, 0 seats left for students, and 3 seats available for minors. So you do get discounts on these bus rides. Now, here's the trick, and we get into incognito land because I've actually never used the senior discount because I just turned 60 less than 6 months ago. So I haven't been eligible. So I'm going to use my first, well, I'm going to try to use my first discount trip on this coming trip to Guadalajara in a couple of months. And the reason why this is interesting is because INSEN, which is the Institute of Seniors, gives out discount cards. Now, I don't have my INSEN card because getting them, you have to go somewhere and it's a process. You have to deliver paperwork. But I've heard from people that have said to me that just because they look old, they don't question their oldness. So I've purchased seats for seniors for my friend Paul and myself with the knowledge that once we get to the bus, they may ask for an ID and they may take a Mexican passport or not. They may take a foreign passport or not. In any event, the worst thing that can happen is they do not let us take advantage of this, and we have to pay for the remainder of the cost of the ticket, which, it's a no-brainer. But that is what I can tell you about my experience. That's what I can tell you about my experience riding the bus from Puerto Vallarta to Guadalajara. As far as where to stay, I usually stay at the Portobello Hotel. I find it very affordable, but there are places that are more affordable and places that are less affordable. I see that some suggestions have been provided in the comments. And speaking of comments, I think it's a good time to dive into the comments today. Let's see what we have. Doody-doody-doo. A ver. Lots of happy Saturdays. Scruffy Saturday, I said. Yes, I went out and bought shaving cartridges of the wrong kind, if you must know. And now I can finally shave the way I want to. Haha. Let's see. Deb is still in bed. I wish I was still in bed, although I have a bunch of fun things to do today. Oh! Today, I'm having a taco date with a dear friend that's visiting from Canada. And I am doing something that I've never done before, and God knows why I never thought about this before. She loves red wine. I love red wine. She loves tacos, and I love tacos. But there's not a lot of taco places that offer wine as part of their offerings because oftentimes they don't even have a license for liquor. So I went to Tacos Huichos, which is one of my favorite taco places here in Colonia Versalles, and I asked them, hey, if we bring our own bottle of wine, can we uncork it here? And they said, absolutely. So tonight, dinner is tacos al pastor with red wine. I cannot wait. Give it a go, and I'll let you know how it went for me this coming Monday. Back to your comments. Let's see. Raymond, I heard you're coming into town for a little maintenance work. If you are in town, I'd love to see you at least for a cup of coffee or something. Pudding, pum, boom, boom, boom. Doo-dee-doo-doo-doo. Den says we've got mattress toppers at Soriana and Walmart in the past. There you go. Let's see. Lots of welcome backs for Gina. Yay. I don't know what a pod morning is, but pod morning to you, Kresha. Let's see what else. Oh, yes, she does. Sweet Luna loves her daddy, and her daddy loves Luna. You know, whenever I go on an errand, I make sure that I leave my sleeping shorts or my pajama on the bed because she likes to sleep on top of it. Let's see. Ernesto's is so much fun. I sneak away sometimes. Let's make it a happening on February 10th. Let's all go stuff ourselves with barbecue ribs at Ernesto's that afternoon. Let's see. Spencer is up at the Mirador for a W/O. I have no idea what a W/O is, but I hope it's a good thing for you. Rod takes Vallarta Plus to Zapopan when they go. Thank you for that. Um, oh, interesting point from Tommy, saying that when he was approached by mariachi, the price was per player per song. Uh, and the song started, and suddenly there were more musicians. That is sneaky. So again, it's not like musicians out there are bad people or anything, but we'll find creative ways to make more money, and to just make sure that you are on the same page as they are. Kathy says, I speak and understand Spanish very well, but had a difficult time in Guadalajara. Do they have a different accents or dialect? You sound like me when I went to Scotland. I speak and understand English very well, but Spanish from different parts of Mexico can have different accents, and certainly different parts of the continent as well. Do they have a different dialect? No, people just speak differently. Let's see what else we have. Something I forgot to mention about the pop-up, the Hecho, Mano pop-up, is I sent a love note to Lucy this morning because her Facebook invitation still said that it was going to take place at the previous venue, but I'm sure they're on it, and they're going to update it to say that it takes place at Ernesto's. Let's see. That's an important point. Also, Dale wonders if they have resumed sandwiches and drinks when boarding the bus. Let me explain. ETN, prior to the pandemic, and other bus companies as well, just to give you a little nosh for you to enjoy during the bus, right? And then the pandemic came, and they stopped doing that after the pandemic. So it's a long bus ride. Make sure you grab a bottle of water and something to munch on if you get the munchies on the bus. You will not be allowed to drink alcoholic beverages, but there are creative ways to enclose them if you choose to get a little toasty while riding the bus. But definitely do not count on the bus offering any kind of nourishment, as of recent trips that I have taken. Hola, Lucy. It's been fixed. Yay. It was so great to run into you, and I can't be happier with all the success you've had with your wonderful artist pop-ups. I think it's a wonderful project, and last time I went to one, I saw some things that I didn't get to buy, but I think I will indulge this time around. Michal reports on the ETN trip that she and a couple of other friends took to Guadalajara last month, and there was no food or drink, but there you have it. And this, my friends, brings us to the end of our broadcast, but not the end of the pomade people outside. Thank you very much for joining me. Thank you for your questions. Your questions are so important to me because whenever we can answer them, we're happy to answer them. And whenever we cannot, we try to point you in the right direction. This is the last broadcast for this week. This afternoon, I'm looking forward to upgrading to the latest version of Ecamm Live, the software that I use to produce these broadcasts. They have upgraded to a brand new version with all kinds of new features. Some of them are behind the scenes features, but I'll spend the weekend exploring it just to see if we can come up with some extra surprises while we do Coffee and Headlines. I hope you have a great weekend, and I hope to see you again sometime soon, maybe even on Monday. Take care.